pork butts is what we're doing. So today on Heinz Barbecue, we're gonna cook up 3 8 to 10 pound pork butts. So one of the things I like to do when I'm cooking pork butts is score the fat cap on the pork butt itself. Couple of different reasons. So we've got our pork butt here, kind of sitting out here, just chilling, taking it easy, getting ready to get a couple scores in it. I like to just use a standard bone-in knife, nothing special. You can pick these things up at any food restaurant supply store for minimal price. I think this one was like 15 bucks, and I really love this knife. But the reason why I like to score the fat cap is because it allows, through the cooking process, the bark to really set up, and it allows the fat to caramelize a lot better, much deeper into the meat, which makes for a much tastier bite, in my opinion. But everyone can do their own thing. But now we've got to introduce the rub that I use on the pork. So let's take a trip over to the pantry. All right, so time to throw down some seasoning. I just switch over to like an old seasoning jar that I ended up getting. This is, I think, garlic salt is what it was. But the granule size in the top of this is what really matters. It's what's going to give you the most even coating on this, and you want to try to get as even of a coating as you possibly can on anything you're laying spice on, because if not, you'll get like a really big bite of just like overpowering spice on one bite and then nothing on the other. So what I like to do is just kind of, kind of get a little high with it and just lay down a really good coating. If you can't get it all on the first go around, it's okay. And then what we'll do is we'll just kind of pat that in just a little bit. And that salt's already got that meat to start sweating. So what's going to end up happening in that is the meat started to sweat, so you're pulling in all that moisture kind of out of the meat, and it really allows that seasoning to stick really well. I like to let this set overnight. Had pretty good results with it, setting at least 24 hours. Sometimes it pulls a little bit too much moisture out of it, so kind of be a little careful on that. But I think we're doing not too bad with this. So, all right. Then last but not least, I take some cling wrap, whatever brand you want to, and I just wrap the pork butt up really good before I put it in the fridge to set overnight. That keeps any evaporative drying or anything from happening. I've never left one uncovered to see if it produces a better pellicle or anything like that. Don't really know. But I always wrap mine up and make sure that it's sealed up pretty tight, so it just kind of locks all that moisture in there and hopefully pushes that salt into the meat. So let's get this guy wrapped up. All right, so we've got to another fun part, which is wood processing. So we're getting ready to get some stuff on the smoker in the morning, so we're going to process some more wood tonight. Already got a wheelbarrow full of wood kind of processed right here. This is all white oak wood. That's primarily what I run. That's kind of local to us. Got a pretty good sized pile of stuff here. So, but kind of one of the big things is, this is, some people worry about this, some people do. I found out it does make a difference on how your barbecue really tastes. So I've got a moisture meter, and you can pick these things up. This is one made by Cobalt, pretty cheap. And all it does is it just tells you the moisture in the wood. And you kind of got to be a little careful with these things. If you're sticking, so we'll pop the cap off this guy. Got a couple of little prongs here at the very top of it. And what we can do is we'll turn this guy on, and we're just sitting there looking at wood. And right now it's just reading kind of the ambient air temperature in between the two prongs. So we can stab this guy into the wood, and it will give us a reading of 7.9%, which is pretty dry in my standards. And it's actually saying that it's low moisture. You can see by the meter right there. So I like to see mine 25%. So what I've got split right here might be a little dry. It may not give you the really deep wood flavor that you're looking for. A lot of different people are going to disagree or have their own opinions on that, but so it is what it is. But it's a good judge of telling you kind of where your moisture content's at. And kind of what you're looking for and what you want to do with it. So the next thing is, how do we process our wood? So the best way to do it is I start with big slabs like this. Take it over here to the old chopping block. Gonna give her a couple whacks there. And then I'll end up something like this. I'll split this down one more time, and then pretty much what I'll do is we'll go ahead and fire one away here. So that's a pretty decent split for my stick burner. Different stick burner is going to burn different sizes of wood, so that's about what we're looking like. Then I bought an electric chainsaw. I got this thing on sale for like 50 bucks. I'm going to cut this into thirds. So we're going to take that dude and kind of lay it up there, chop it into thirds, and you know, that'll pretty much be it. So cut that up into sticks about like that. So it's like 2 inches by 2 inches. This is what my stick burner likes to burn. Burns it pretty clean and produces really good smoke, especially on something that's green. I run greener wood. I like to see greener wood. I think it gives a better taste on barbecue, and that's my personal preference. Everybody's got kind of got their own thing that they're looking for, but that's my process for getting the wood down to size to get into my offset. So next we'll get everything set up on the offset, and we'll show the process of how we get the coals going and kind of what's going to happen. So all right, so it's the next morning. Storm rolled in on us last night, so I had to cut everything short, but we got the smoker up and running. So just going to do a little bit of that kind of like wood management, how I set this thing up. So pretty simple setup. You can see the smoke coming at it. I don't know if you can really see the color that well, but it's like a light blue, like a bluish whitish color. That's going to indicate kind of how you want the taste of the smoke on your food. The whiter, kind of the more white you see in that, the more kind of what's referred to as a dirty smoke, which is kind of what I like on my food, at least at the very beginning. Mainly because it gives it a really good smoky flavor that you just can't get on anything else. So, but as far as fire management and different things like that go, kind of showed you guys our setup of what we got. So we got these little splits right here, you know, about 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. And then we've got our firebox here. So I just start off with a little bit of charcoal. And then we get some little splits. Let's get a set of, I got a set of 12-inch metal tongs here. You can pick these up from any kitchen supply store. And we're just gonna kind of build us a little fire in here. And I just like to kind of cross my logs there, like so. And we're just gonna let this burn down, turn into more coals, and then we're gonna put more on top of it and just keep the fire rolling. So, all right, so we're about 6.5 hours in here. Gonna do a little bark check on this thing to see where the bark's at, whether we're wanting to start to wrap, fat's rendered, what's going on with it. So let's go take a look. Oh, yes. I'm more worried about this front guy up here taking more of the heat. Fat's not quite rendered yet, and we could definitely use a little more bark. So we're gonna let these butts keep cruising for a little bit longer. So as soon as we get that bark kind of where we want it at, then we're gonna figure out how we're gonna wrap these guys and what we wanna do next. And then I'll show you kind of the steps of what I use to figure out what's tender, what's not, and the whole method of doing this. So, all right, we're right around the 7.5 hour mark. It's hot. It's 100 and I don't know, it's like 99, 101, something like that. So I'm like sweating to death out here. So don't forget to partake in refreshments when the mountains are blue. You know what to do. Oh, that was good. That was very good. So, what are we gonna do next? We're about the spot where I'll probe it. And what I do is I just take a probe. This little guy right here, just one of these little metal probes, cleaned off, of course. And I've got a little temperature monitor there that I've got one in the back of the smoker and one in the front of the smoker just to tell the temperature differential. Right now we're only running like 2 degrees difference, which is pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and probe this in that front pork butt, which that one's gonna probably finish faster seeing it's sitting closer to the firebox. So we're gonna go ahead and probe this guy in there. We're gonna go ahead and take the front thermometer out and just plug this in. When we start hitting 160 in that first butt, I'm gonna start looking at wrapping and getting everything ready. The park's already set. We've got the pellicle we want. So it's time to start wrapping. So let's go over and take a peek at them, get this probe stuck in there. So, ooh, hopefully they look good. Oh my, yes, very nice. So that fat is nice and rendered. Wow, very good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and insert this probe in the back side of this one, kind of in the thickest part of the muscle there. And then we're gonna plug it into the probe readout and we're gonna see what this guy says. So let's see here. Ah, look at that, 159. So not too shabby there. So smoker's a little cool because I just opened it up, but we're at 159. So you can run, you know, you can run as high as you want to. 160 is kind of the mark. I'll go 165, 170, depending on how I want the bark to look. If I don't think the bark's on there and the fat's not rendered very well, then I'm gonna back off the heat a little bit more, give it a little bit more time. Or I might push the heat up, just depending on what I want. But as we do more cooks and stuff like that, I'll be more descriptive on that. So we're about 8 hours. We have got fantastic bark on these things. So we all know what it's time to do. It's time to wrap it up. So let's go take a look at this. All right, so there we go. Porky, beautiful goodness. I've just got some tinfoil laid out here, 2 sheets. So we're just gonna wrap this one this way, and then we're gonna wrap this other guy back over it that way to make a nice hermetically sealed little pork warming blanket. And then after we're done with that, I've got the box fired up. We're 280. So we'll run in between 275 and 280 in the propane box. And that's how I like to finish these guys off. I'll leave the probe inserted in this one. Once we hit 200, 202, I might poke around a little bit with the probe in there, make sure we're good and tender. I'll drop these guys back to 145, 150, and then they will sit in this box till tomorrow, till time to eat. When we almost get ready to serve, I'll probably pull them off about 3 hours before. Maybe, depending on what time I think people are gonna get here, but we'll run them 145 almost until people get here, pull the bone out of them, break them up. So on to the next step. Right, so it's around about 6:30 p.m. We've put all the smoke on there. We got the bark we want. Everything looks pretty good. I left one of the pork butts on for the entire duration unwrapped. I just pulled it off, just wrapped it up and stuck it in the heating cabinet. So that's 9 hours, 10 hours, full smoke. It feels a little tough. So we'll see how that one turns out. The other two, I ran them to 165, 166, just made sure they pushed through the stall, wrapped them up, got them in there. They feel very tender, fat rendered on everything. But a buddy of mine stopped by and I was like, he was like, hey, run one of them up to about 170, 180, 190 and just cook it without any wrapping on it. So I did it. So we're gonna see how that one turns out, but let me show you what we got here. So got the box, running about 275. So, and that's what we got. I got 2 probes, one in the bottom, one in the top one. I got the guy in the middle just kind of chilling out. So I'll monitor temp based off of that. Get them closed back up there. But that's pretty much how I run bigger pieces of meat. The bad thing is the smaller Master Built Pro Series boxes aren't big enough to do briskets. Smaller briskets they are. Also depends on how you trim them. If you trim them down a lot, they'll fit in there, but I found if I push them up against the corner of the box, it really dries out that corner. So I kind of got to do some different things on briskets. So, but we'll see how these turn out. So it's about 8:30. We finally got these guys pulled off, so we got them in the warmer. Let them run. So we're 14 hours, 12 hours, something like that. I don't know, I forgot. But anyway, so we got them sitting over here on the table. Let me show you guys what I like to do. So we've got these little kind of full boats made here, and I've just got them in here just kind of hanging out. And that air, the way I've got this kind of built right here, that air just kind of pulls out of there and just kind of lets these guys rest until they get down to an internal temperature of, I don't know, 160. I feel like it's a good temperature. At 160 degrees, I'm probably gonna put those guys back in here, back in the box. I've got the box coming down right now to about 145, 150 degrees. We'll wrap these guys back up. Once they hit about 160 internal and I see they're dropping pretty, you know, not super quickly. You don't want your meat to drop super fast. You don't want anything to happen really quick in barbecue. So we'll let these guys kind of come down gradually, and that's why I like to make that little kind of boat over the top of them to let that heat just kind of gently flow out of there. If you bring them down too fast, you might have tightening up of the muscles and you might get some really tough stuff to eat. So kind of what I've seen in the past. But if you let them kind of gently cool down and kind of simmer down a little bit, you won't get that tightening of the muscles. Leave all that juice in there, it'll reabsorb a lot of that. And you have some pretty tasty barbecue. So we'll let these guys rest down to about 160, maybe 150. We're gonna get them back in here and we're gonna hold them overnight. Pop the bones out of them in the morning, get them all pulled up, and get ready to make some delicious sandwiches. So here we go. All right, guys. So we're out here. We're gonna finish this thing up. We got our pork right there. We got some containers. We got some gloves on, just insulated rubber gloves. And we're gonna start pulling this pork and get it ready to put on some sandwiches. Here we go. All right, so it's done. We cooked 30 pounds of pork, pretty much. So final result, there we go. Some pulled pork. We got about 6 pounds right here. Maybe a little more, maybe 7. But enjoying some mountains. So not upset with the cook overall. Got some pretty good feedback from it. Had a bunch of people over, so we probably had about 30 people over, 25, 30 people, for my son's first birthday. So pretty awesome to be able to do that. But a couple of things I've learned from this, and I'm still learning as I'm putting this stuff out there. So I threw this stuff in the warmer last night at like 9 o'clock. And turned out that the warmer didn't run as successfully as I thought it would. It ended up kind of, I put it in last night at 9. I checked it at 1 o'clock. Still pretty good. We were running like 155, in between like 147, 155. Got this morning and it dropped to 126. Luckily, I probed the meat and it carried over really well and we didn't drop below 145. The meat was 147, so stayed good on that. But definitely a learning operation, putting the stuff in the box in order to get it to stay at temperature overnight. So might have to end up ordering a better box. So, but yeah, that's pretty much, we made it to the end of this cook. So hopefully you guys will stay tuned for some more videos and get to watch me mess up some more stuff. If you hear a ball game in the background, we've got the West Virginia game on. So, yep, go WV. See you guys on the next video.